At the beginning of the film, a boy named Jay is shown living happily with his family. His family consists of his wife and 2 younger daughters. He was going abroad for work for a few days, but his family was upset by this and became depressed. He assures his family that he will return soon and that they will spend a lot of time together. Meanwhile, a stranger is shown outside Jay's house who is watching inside the window. Jay hears someone walking outside the house and realizes there is someone's presence, but he ignores it. After a while, he sees the main door of the house is open that was closed before, and understands the voice he heard was a thief who has come inside their house while opening the door. Meanwhile, he hears his wife screaming, and when he runs to the kitchen, he finds his wife unconscious, and she was bleeding, but seeing it, he panics and moves to bring his daughter who was hiding under the bed. The girl was scared and Jay asks her to come out while moving his hand forward. But the stranger comes and makes Jay faint while attacking him. Jay awakes in the next scene and his face was covered with a cloth. Removing it, he finds himself in a huge basement. There was a handcuff in his hand that means the stranger brings him here while kidnapping him. He wasn't alone here, but 3 more persons were trapped here like him. They were also kept being tied. There was a girl, a security guard, and a man who was badly injured. These 4 don't know each other. If we talk about the injured man, the kidnapper has tortured this man badly. He has removed the skin of his body and stitched his mouth, which was pointing toward that the kidnapper tried to make him silent. Maybe he has recognized him and he don't want him to tell anyone about the kidnapper. That who is he? He was in critical condition, with his body bleeding and his mouth stitched shut, preventing him from speaking or moving. He was just lying in a corner, scared as a living corpse. Jay asked that boy and the security guard who the kidnapper will be. Why he kidnapped us and kept us here while imprisoning us. They also don't know anything about it along with Jay. They say we only know that, don't know what's the reason, but the kidnapper wants to torture us, want to oppress us like that man. But in reply Jay screams and says, I am a good human and haven't done anything wrong in my life to be punished. This should not be happening to me. After a few hours, the light blinks, signaling the arrival of the kidnapper. The kidnapper arrives and throws a piece of meat from a small path for them to eat. The girl picks it up hurriedly and divides it, then throws it towards the guard and Jay. Jay forbids to eat that piece of meat while saying, I am vegetarian and don't eat meat, I only eat vegetables. They say after hearing this, here we only get this to eat. Now because the injured man can't eat anything, so the kidnapper gives him injections to keep him alive. Jay starts using his mind because he wants to escape somehow. But the girl and guard were silently sitting there and don't try to escape. As they have done many tries to escape from there but failed, that's why they lost their courage in lying helplessly. Jay starts scratching the wall, but during this his nail exfoliates, due to which he feels pain. And he understands there is only a way to escape from here, and that is main door. Except for this, he tries to scratch the ground and finds out a bone and a skeleton. He sees a camera. That means the kidnapper will be enjoying while seeing them in pain. That's why Jay starts abusing the kidnapper, seeing in the camera. And he says ill about him. The guard tries to forbid him because if the kidnapper will become furious, it will not be good for them. He will not spare anyone and will end them after torturing them, but Jay ignores him and continuously saying ill to the kidnapper. Finally, the kidnapper becomes furious, that's why he immediately comes there. The kidnapper was named Dominic, and Jay was thinking of run from here after beating the kidnapper when he will come. But his condition gets worse when he sees Dominic. He lost his words as he was a strong and powerful man. He was wearing a leather mask to hide his face. It was looking like someone's skin. Jay was scared but courageous. He asks Dominic where his family is. Are they alright, or have he done something to them? He doesn't answer him and just staring at him silently. After it, he brings the injured man in the middle of the room. He gives his knife to the girl and compels her to cut that injured man's skin from belly and give it to him. She has no other way. She does the same as he was already injured, and she cuts his skin and gives it to Dominic. He sends her back, and after it, he throws the knife to Jay and asks him to do the same. But he picks up the knife and attacks Dominic, and he moves away at the right time so doesn't get injured. This means Jay failed in his attack, and now it wasn't well for him. Dominic attacks him with his elbow. On this Jay's act, he will punish that girl, so he holds her face and calls the guard and asks him to put a pipe in her mouth. Then shuts her mouth while putting an insect along with a blade through the pipe. The insect was stuck in that girl's throat, and she was feeling pain and feeling problem while breathing. Then after a while her mouth starts bleeding, in which the insect comes out, and Jay keeps the blade while crushing the insect. He tries to cut his rope with that blade, and the guard was still forbidding him to do this. Otherwise, the next time they will get the worst punishment, but Jay doesn't listen to him and cut his hand rope. Jay moves out of this room while pushing Dominic when he arrives, but unluckily all the doors to go out of this house were closed. So he couldn't leave from there, and he slithers in an AC vent, but it breaks because of his weight as it was a narrow place. Jay falls down and gets faint. And when he awakes, he finds himself at the place where he was tied before, but this time, Dominic has chained his hands. Dominic again moves inside to punish Jay for what he has done. He gives a key to the guard and opens his handcuffs. Later, he gives him a hammer and 2 nails. He makes him understand to drive nails in his hand so that he can't leave from here. And the guard follows suit, driving nails into Jay's hands as it was terrible and painful, causing Jay to faint. He awakes and sees his hands were bound in the wall through nails, and it was giving him a lot of pain. He bears pain and somehow releases his hands from nails. It was a painful scene. Then he takes a calm breath and says after a while that there must be some connection between them and kidnapper Dominic. That's why he is torturing, and in this, he has crossed all limits of cruelness, but they don't remember anything about it. What is the connection between them, and what wrong had they done to him? Hearing them, the injured man tries to say something. Seems like he is trying to tell them something. He makes a mark on sand with his finger, and after it, he opens the stitches of his mouth while bearing pain. Tearing his mouth, he just says a word, horseshoe, that is a thing made of iron fixed in horseshoes. As he was injured and after bearing a lot of pain, he dies. Hearing this word horseshoe, Jay becomes astonished. He understands the relation between them and with the kidnapper as well. To learn more, the story jumps ahead 20 years, to when Jay goes on vacation with his family as a child. It was like forest, and here he makes 3 friends. And they are none other than the same who are locked with him in the basement, the girl, guard, and the injured man. Then Jay tells them a true story, that there is a farmhouse in this forest. A farmer lives there, and his wife died few times ago, and since then he has become insane. He imprisoned his son in his farmhouse and tortured him, even he removed his skin. Then one day he ended his son with a sharp axe, and it is said that farmer is still alive and lives in his farmhouse. That farmhouse in this forest, and the farmer is wandering in this forest for his next prey. But the kids don't believe Jay's story. They feel this plunder. Then a boy Dominic comes to them. He is the boy who become a kidnapper after growing elder. He tells them, I also come here to spend vacations with my family and want to make friendship with you. But they don't make him their friend and think to enjoy while teasing him. They say, if you want to join our group you have to complete few dares. You have to do what we will ask you to do. And Dominic agrees, and the girl firstly asks Dominic to keep an insect in his mouth. Jay's friend, who is a garden present, puts hand on his mouth, due to which Dominic has to swallow that insect. Later, the girl leaves a spider on Dominic's head, and the spider moves on his face and bites him while moving in his ear. He feels pain that he runs from there while screaming. But they were still behind him and hold him. Later, he was tied with the earth, and Jay's friend leaves a lot of insects on his face. He can't do anything, and they were so evil that they left him there like this. While leaving they warn him to take care if any insect will move in his eyes, otherwise, it will eat your brain. They were making fun of him and laughing at his helplessness. The next day, Dominic returns and his parents were fighting. He becomes fed up and comes out of the van, then sits aside. Meanwhile, the girl Jay's friend arrives and sits with him. She sees a mark on Dominic's hand that was of a horseshoe. Dominic has made it. At the time when his parents sell his favorite horse, and after it, Jay's friend takes him to the old farmhouse while trapping him. The farmhouse where the insane farmer lives, whose story Jay was telling. Meanwhile, the other friends of the girl arrive and ask Dominic to go inside this farmhouse. We will join you in our group if you will do this. As Dominic moves inside the farmhouse they run while leaving him there. While leaving they saw someone in the farmhouse, and he may be that mad farmer. He holds Dominic. After it, they move to their home and never met again. They come face to face today here. That's why they didn't recognize each other, and the boy Dominic also disappeared and never returned home. They didn't help him when the police investigate them. They didn't tell the police about Dominic or the farmer and his farmhouse. Well, it is shown after it, that the insane farmer lived in the farmhouse in real, and he kept Dominic with him. He considered him his son and starts bringing him up. He was nurturing him and feeding his mind that his parents and friends are evil as they left him here. I am nice, so stay with me. But whenever Dominic tried to escape, the farmer held him and tortured him. Gradually, Dominic considered the farmer his father, and they start living happily. The farmer made him a strong, powerful human. But feed a wrong thing in his mind that if you have to put the evil out of any human, start torturing him. The human will leave that evil after bearing pain. There was a room in the farmhouse where Dominic wasn't allowed to go. But when he grew elder and wise, he secretly moved into that room. Reaching there, he discovered the farmer has lost his mental balance and has ended his son because of his madness. This means Jay told the true story, except for this he discovers a surprising thing, that he set the van of Dominic's parents on fire, in which they died being burned. He done this to keep Dominic with him always. None will come to find him. Knowing this, he feels bad and also becomes furious at that mad farmer. Meanwhile, The farmer arrives and becomes furious to see Dominic in this room, so he beats him a lot. Because he understands that now, because Dominic has known the truth, he will not consider me his father. He ties him with a rope and tries to end him while putting him in the boiling water. But luck was with him, he somehow releases from the rope. He makes the farmer faint. Then he puts him in the boiling water while tying with a rope, due to which his body gets burnt and he looks ugly. He feels a lot of pain that he dies on the spot, and after it, Dominic wears a mask made with his skin. He is still wearing it, and now there is only a purpose of his life to take revenge from those four, while doing the same with them as they have done to him. That's why he kidnapped them here, and to vent his rage, he's torturing them and punishing them. At the present time, Jay suggests to his other friends that we apologize to Dominic for what we have done to him. Maybe he will forgive us and will let us leave from here. This plan wasn't giving any hope. After it, Jay screams Dominic's name loudly, but he doesn't listen to him when he comes inside, but asks him to be quiet, to hold his face, and gives him injection filled with spider eggs. Then he holds that girl because he wants Jay to inject this injection in his friend's ear. Seeing this, they understand Dominic is torturing them the same as they done 20 years ago. After a while, Jay pretends to faint, and when Dominic arrives they attack him and tries to end him. He was so powerful and was dominant on them, so he beats them a lot. After it, he picks up a knife and damages the guard's eye and asks the girl to pick up the insect and put in his eye. She does the same and puts an insect in his eye. After it, he leaves, but this time he forgets his knife there. Jay opens his friend and his handcuffs with that knife and separates his friend's eye from his body, because the insect was biting on his injured eye. Jay's friend says, "Give me that knife so that I can save myself," while fighting with Dominic when he will come inside. Jay clearly refuses to give knife, and there was a fight between them because of the knife. And to stop this fight, the girl hits stone at guard's head, but mistakenly the knife stabs in his mouth. And because of bleeding a lot of blood, he dies on the spot. Later, the girl points the knife at Jay and says there is our fault and all this not Dominic's fault because we left him in that farmhouse. The farmer brought him up and made him cruel. We didn't even help him, and didn't tell police anything about him, but Dominic arrives and holds the girl while snatching his knife. Jay also apologizes to him for what they have done and says, "Let us leave from here. We know we have done wrong to you in childhood and we are ashamed of it." Dominic traps by his words, and getting a chance, Jay removes his mask and then takes the knife from his hand, but Dominic doesn't stop and tries to end the girl while pressing her neck, as she has teased him a lot in childhood, and seeing it, Jay tries to attack him with knife. But Dominic turns and the knife stabs in the girl and many spiders come out of her mouth. These were the eggs that were injected into her ear, and Dominic ends the girl while tearing her body apart with the knife. Jay was the alone survivor, so he escapes while getting a chance but doesn't find the exit way of farmhouse. Meanwhile, Dominic arrives and beats him badly while holding him. Later, he tries to end Jay while drowning him in the water. Jay releases himself and attacks his face with a handle repeatedly, and finally, he comes out of the farmhouse, means in the forest, and then moves forward, but Dominic was still chasing him and reaches the forest. He holds Jay and tries to end him while pressing his neck, but Jay stabs a knife in Dominic that he took secretly. Due to it, He dies and then Jay moves to the nearby police station and the police drops him at his home. His family was waiting for him and he becomes happy after meeting them. After it, the story 10 years later is shown. Jay's daughters have grown elder and they come with their friends in that forest on vacations. We discover from their conversation that the police didn't find Dominic's dead body means maybe he is alive. When they say Dominic's name, he attacks them, proving that he wasn't dead but was still alive. He was also wearing the mask, and now that he has grown in power, I'm not sure how many more people he will eliminate. He will punish those who have wronged him or the evil ones. Here this movie concludes.